truly fear what gives me the worriest care. I'll tell you what I dread the most, the thing that isn't there.
Hello everyone, Scary Skeleton Reactor here, bringing to you yet another reaction video. While I'm waiting for Mr. Nightmare's response concerning that one reaction video of the 3 true October horror stories, I'm going to be reacting to another one in the meantime while I'm waiting. So, just in case if things don't work out, if Liam Murphy, if you're watching this, if things don't work out with the request that you made, this will be the backup then. So, anyways, I'm going to be reacting to 3 true Craigslist horror stories. Now, I've never used Craigslist before. I would hear over the news of the dangers and the incidents regarding the Craigslist. So, but yeah, it's something that I'm not gonna be looking to at any moment in time. And what I see right here, Craigslist is a great place to find good deals on basically everything, but it can be very dangerous. You have no idea what kind of person you are communicating with, as these stories will exemplify, so be careful. Duly noted. Which is why I'm not going to be doing any browsing at Craigslist. So, anyways, without further ado, let's get started. 3, 2, 1, let's go.
Number 3. I'm a 22-year-old girl. I was looking on Craigslist to buy a couch for my new apartment a month ago. I found something I thought seemed like a good deal. From the pictures, the couch seemed to be in great shape. The seller wanted to be contacted by email. His email was mexicanpoppy666@hotmail.com.
Red flag, suspicious email. Something tells me that this is not gonna end well. Get out of this. Don't even bother. You're better off buying wherever, Value City, IKEA. It's not worth it.
I felt that email was a bit off-putting, but
it is
I still went
off-putting.
ahead and emailed the man my offer. He responded within 5 minutes, accepting the offer and asking for my address. I honestly felt uncomfortable with his asking.
Even though I'm not gonna do anything when it comes to Craigslist, but if you are to do a deal, whether you're buying or selling, you're better off doing it at a public place, not in your own personal space, if you know what I mean. At least do it at a public place where you have other people watching, in a bright lit up area, but never at your own address.
I did not want a stranger coming to my house. I suggested that I just come to his house to pick it up, but he continually
mistake on your part, not at the seller's address, at a public area. That's a more safer option.
Insisted that he come to my house. Eventually I stopped responding, and a day later, he emailed me again, giving me his address. I didn't know if I should go at that point, but
no.
It seemed like a steal, almost too good to be true.
It is.
And according to his address,
when something is too good to be true, it usually is. Like, there is no win-win scenario here.
He didn't live too far. So I got in my van and drove over to the seller's house. I immediately noticed that the house was a bit smaller than all the other houses on the block. When I rang the bell, a middle-aged man wearing a baseball cap answered the door. He gave me a huge smile and invited me in. I was immediately feeling uneasy. He led me into his living room, and I saw the couch. Immediately, I saw scuff marks and small tears in the couch. It was not at all in the shape that it appeared in the ad.
The use of Photoshop and editing software that would be used to conceal anything just to make things look deceiving.
I commented on this, and he just smiled and offered to lower the price. I told him I'm not interested, and here's where things started getting creepy. As I was making my way out of the house, he put his hand on my shoulder and offered to give it to me for free if I was willing to, quote-unquote, give something to him.
This is a predator in the making.
I let out a disgusted gasp and got back into my car. I didn't even look up out the window. I just drove away from there quickly. But it doesn't end there. That same night, I was laying in my bed watching TV when I thought I heard somebody stomping up the steps of my porch. I muted the TV and was able to clearly hear the sound of somebody fiddling with my front doorknob. I jumped out of my bed and tiptoed over to the front door to look through the peephole, but whoever it was already gone. And then, I thought I could hear the sound of the gate to the backyard opening and closing. That was when I grabbed the phone and dialed 911. Soon after, I heard the sound of somebody fiddling with the doorknob to the back door of the apartment. I yelled to whoever it was that the police were on their way, and after that, I heard the sound of the gate opening and closing again. They were gone. This was a month ago, and nothing has happened since, but I still can't sleep at night. I'm 99% sure it was the man that was selling the couch. He must have followed me home. There was no way it was just a coincidence. I don't plan on using Craigslist anymore, and I'm still trying to find a new apartment.
Again, you know, at least you called the cops, but I would have contacted them sooner. And plus, when you were leaving, you should have just kept turning your head back just in case if you were being followed. And if you were being followed, go to a public area, call the cops there. And also, since I'm still living at home with my family, and like if that time comes, I prefer to look for a furnished place and not try to find something on Craigslist. Or if I have to find furniture, at least I would go to Value City or IKEA or somewhere. Just Craigslist it has a bad rap.
Number 2. I was looking for a car to buy for my son for his 18th birthday. I was searching all the typical car websites, cars.com, eBay Motors. They were all overpriced.
That story sounds familiar. Did I react to it? I don't know.
As expected. Craigslist was the only place to find an actual deal. About a week into my search, I found an '03 Toyota Camry. It had 67,000 miles, no accidents, no damage, and good condition for only $3,500. This seems like a steal for such a reliable car with such low mileage. The seller lived about 10 miles from me, which was a reasonable drive when looking for a car. I gave him a call to set up a time to come check it out. The man sounded normal on the phone. He assured me that there were absolutely no problems with the car. He introduced himself as Bob. I brought along $3,500 in cash, even though I planned on wiggling down the price as much as possible. I pulled up the dirt road to Bob's property about 15 minutes early. It was a tiny little house with a decent-sized property, only because I was a bit far from the nearest neighbors. The garage was open, so I walked over to see if anybody was inside, but except for an unusual amount of car parts, it was empty. The car was nowhere in sight. The only car on the property was an old pickup truck. I went over to the front door to check the house numbers. It was the right address. The doorbell button was missing, so I knocked on the front door. I knocked for exactly 5 minutes before deciding to give the man a call.
Why knock so
I
long?
dialed his number and I heard the sound of a cell phone ringing from inside the house. I was extremely confused at this point. Now I knew I had the right house. I didn't understand why, if he was home, why he wasn't answering. I decided I had to take a peek through one of the windows to see if anybody was inside. Peering through the glass, I couldn't really see much as it was pretty dark inside the house. I saw a very old-fashioned dining room set, but across from that, I saw somebody standing at the back door of the house, staring outside. I figured that must have been Bob, so I knocked on the window, but he didn't even move. There was no gate or anything to the backyard. It was just a wide-open yard, since this wasn't a rural area. I simply walked around the house to the backyard.
I would have left a long
I didn't
time
understand
ago.
how he couldn't hear me. When I got to the back door, I made a shocking realization. The figure standing by the door was a taxidermied human being.
Oh,
I ran straight back the way I came and back to my car.
yeah, it
I looked
sounds
up one last
familiar.
time before driving off. The blinds to the window I had peeked into had been shut, but I could see 2 of the blinds bent open. Somebody was at that window watching me. You can probably guess I had the gas pedal to the floor the whole way home. The whole situation still makes no sense. All the car parts, the fact that there was no Toyota Camry, the taxidermied human being, the fact that there was no car there leads me to believe that whoever that man wasn't planning on selling me anything. And that also leads to the disturbing thought that I was very close to becoming a lifeless statue staring out that man's back door.
Yeah, it's familiar. I think I saw the cartoon version of it, the animated
about a
version.
year ago. I found a guy on Craigslist who was selling his for $200. He claimed it was in mint condition and that he wanted to upgrade to the 5C. I didn't know much about how to go about testing a phone to make sure everything works, so I brought my little brother along who knew a lot more.
With phones, you're better off just going to T-Mobile, AT&T, Verizon, Sprint. It's not worth it. Or you're better off going to one of the major retailers. That's at least slightly more safer choice.
More than I did. We met halfway at a Dunkin' Donuts parking lot at like 10 o'clock at night.
Okay, first things first, at least you picked a public setting, but 10 o'clock at night though, there's doubt to be any business around.
2 large, intimidating guys stepped out of a black Honda Civic and walked over to us. One of the guys pulled out the phone and showed it to me. It didn't have a scratch on it. My brother took out my SIM card and popped it into this new phone. He did some testing and told me that it works. The guy then asked for $250, even though he originally asked for $200.
Trying to scam you, man. Trying to scam you. Better off not just giving back the phone.
I lied and told him I only brought $200, and he seemed a bit unhappy with this. I did have $250, but I didn't want to spend more than his original asking price. I kind of figured it was his way of making sure I didn't haggle down the price. I handed the guy the $200, and he and his buddy got back in their car. We got back into my car, and I tested out the new phone by calling my girlfriend. I sat testing things around for about 5 minutes. My brother commented on the fact that the 2 guys hadn't left yet either, but I didn't really care.
Listen to your brother, get out of there. Come on, dude.
Started the car and pulled out of the parking lot. My brother then commented that the 2 guys started their car just as I had. I didn't find it too weird. I
That
drove
is
down
weird.
the turnpike and eventually stopped at a red light. That's when I noticed the black Honda Civic pull up right behind us in my rear view mirror. I found that a bit weird since I was sure they came from the opposite direction. I continued my drive home, but every single turn we made, they followed, and close on my tail too. My brother suggested I pull over, but there was no way I was going to do that. I knew those guys were looking for trouble. It got to the point where I was trying to lose them and started driving dangerously. If they needed something, they would call or at least honk their horn, but they were looking for some kind of trouble.
Yes, they were.
I tried something risky to lose them. At an intersection, the light had just turned red. I floored it across the intersection before any of the cars would begin to pass.
You're about to cause a hit and run. Come on. That's crossing the line, man.
My brother shouted at me, calling me stupid and crazy, but it worked.
It is crazy.
We got home after the extra long drive. My heart was still racing from the intensity of the situation. I was just happy I got a working phone for such a low cost.
Why didn't you call the cops, man? Come on. That's the first thing I would have done. Or better yet, not even look at Craigslist at all.
Later that night, I was playing around with the phone trying to set some things up before going to bed. My parents and brother were already asleep at this point. And just then, the sound of 2 car doors slamming shut outside interrupted me. I looked out my window, and I felt like my heart completely stopped. The black Honda Civic was parked across the street. I could only assume the 2 guys were already halfway to our front door. I immediately woke up my dad and explained everything as quickly as possible. He got up, grabbed a baseball bat, and crouched behind the front door. A loud knock came at the front door. My dad screamed at them to go away. One of the guys on the other side of the door claimed to have a gun, and said that he would shoot the lock off of the door if he didn't open up. My dad told me to call Joe, our friend who lives 2 doors down who happens to be a police officer. I called Joe and he said he would be right over and to stay hidden. Here's the part that still scares me to this day. There was the sound of a silenced shot of a pistol. I peeked over and saw a bullet hole in the door, inches away from my dad's head. My dad ran away from the door and we all listened. We heard Joe outside yelling at them to drop their weapons. My dad went outside to help when they lowered their guns. Joe arrested the 2 assholes. I have to say, this was the scariest day of my life, but it was also the best I had ever felt in my entire life.
Be careful on the interwebs. Yep, that's the bottom line for everyone. Be careful on the internet. Well, that was 3 true Craigslist horror stories, and well, that was scary. At least one of them, the second one, I already reacted to, but it was the animated version. So, anyways, my goodness, wow, that was intense. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. You know the drill. Please like, please subscribe. If you guys have requests, comment down below. See you guys in my next reaction. Peace.